I was I don't know if you guys ever do this, like being, I think this might be like a California privilege thing, but like sometimes when I have a day off, I like to just go walk like really far, like almost Forrest Gump style, like just walk to like the edge of, you know, wherever. And I was just walking, and all of a sudden I saw a Goodwill, like a thrift store, Goodwill, and I walked in there, and by the way, Psi is not pensive like that the whole time. I think he's frozen. But I walked in, and I went to the DVD section because I do still like to get a DVD collection. And Goodwill is like hit or miss, dude. Like there's just a lot of like Trouble with the Curve, you know, like it's just a lot of those DVDs there. But then I found Batman Begins, which I actually didn't have on DVD. And being a Nolan guy, I was like, well, I'll just grab that for 75 cents or something. But you always got to check. You got to do the disc check, right? You check. Okay, the disc is in there. Lord, there's a lot of things other than, besides the disc that are in here. So I open it up. There is a note from who I guess is the original gifter of this DVD to somebody. And it says, it's on a Borders card, my former employer. And it said, "Dear sweetie, Merry Christmas." So you got your girlfriend the dark, Batman Begins for Christmas on DVD. Merry Christmas. I think this movie is to blame for us being together. So one of us might as well own it. Lots of love. Lots of love. Raghav. The name feels kind of important. I don't know. It feels kind of important. I don't know. There's a lot. Also in the case, the original ticket to Cinema 2 in San Jose for Batman Begins. This dude is down bad.
Yeah.
Very sentimental guy. Wow. Yeah.
He's saving it like a Soldier Field Bears game stub or something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was at that game, dude. Yeah. It was, 2005, dude. July 14th, 2005, the movie ticket. And then summer blockbuster. And he also had the City of San Jose 2nd Street parking garage validation as well. So that's in there. That felt important. But also, I took the DVD up to the counter to buy it, and then I realized like I'm wearing, dude, and I am not fitted up. I'm wearing like sweats, like real lounge gear, sweats and like the collared shirt. I don't know what I was doing. And I walk up and I'm like handing it, and I feel like the lady like looked at the DVD and saw like my sweats, and then looked up. She's like, "Wait, he doesn't have Down syndrome?" And like buying Batman Begins only at Goodwill is like that's a complete insane move.
Yeah, from the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane, about to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
So I don't know, just fun stuff you find there.
It's such a treat. I do kind of a similar thing where I'll scour eBay and try and find VHS tapes. And very similar to your story, I bought Interview with a Vampire, the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt movie on videotape. And inside of the videotape, first of all, the videotape arrived broken. It did not work in the VCR. But on top of that, there was like a little Christian note that would link to some organization. I thought, did they set me up with a fake tape because this is a gay movie? Did I get baited here? So that's the closest thing I've got. That and I bought Day of the Dead on VHS one time, and there was a autograph of Dana Gould, the stand-up comedian and Simpsons writer, inside. So that's about as many treats as I've gotten from movies.
That's cool.
Yeah, Dana Gould. Last time I was at Dana Gould, she was on Somebody Feed Phil, because my wife watches that show, and they just Zoom each other about food, and it's. I don't know. I'm not going to.
The Zoom part's so fucking weird.
I'm not going to do impersonations of their voices. Yeah. The voices are a little much of those two people, but yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, you heard that voice, and this guy's got like the craziest podcast voice. I know I'm not the first person to say that, but it's just like it's off the hook. But he's the host of the Movies podcast. He's also director. You got stuff that's gonna come out, and I want to talk about that. Omega Fish Corp, Mass State Lottery. This is LowRes. Long time coming, and I swear to God, everybody in the world wants this not to happen. We've been planning it for like 5 months.
Yeah, what was the Jurassic Park headline? Was it 250 million years in the making? I feel like that is this podcast.
250 million years in the making.
Something like that.
Exactly. You and I did talk about. I had a pretty highbrow conversation about Joe Dirt.
Oh hell yeah! All the old SNL alums. That's a very solid episode. If anyone wants to dig into my archive and check out your episode that you appeared on.
Yeah, it's crazy when you go on your show, man. Because like, dude, when I went on your show, I didn't know Hans yet. Like, I didn't quite know him. I'd seen a couple episodes, and I'd seen him on there. But like, when you see that guy, like when you first pop in, you accept you're invited to this meeting, and you see him, you're just like, all right, let's get active. Like this is a guy who is probably the most racially ambiguous person to ever exist.
I like that was the response and not who's this very creepy bald man that's staring at me right now in the dark who couldn't bother lighting his cam, because that's always my reaction when I go on there.
Very paranormal. Yeah. It's quite a paranormal, like found footage paranormal setup that he has. But yeah, that he's amazing, and he helped us find every movie Kevin Farley ever made, so that was cool.
That's right. Yeah.
So that was pretty sick. But yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff that you do, because I find what you do to be probably, and like listening to like Brett Easton Ellis pod, and you hear about all the things that like might get made and like don't get made, or they do get made and they get shelved for a while, or they're in post forever. Like with a podcast, I'm like, this probably won't come out until like Monday or Tuesday, and that's already like too long for me. So like, wait, how do you sit on things for this long? It's insane.
You have to. I mean, you're not really left with too many other options, especially if you're doing most of that work yourself. I've done a lot of research. Originally going into the show tonight, we were said, all right, Shane Carruth. And honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Shane Carruth besides what I've researched outside of the show, but he's been like a recurring figure to come up in the past 20 years or so. And what I've learned is that he did everything himself, including like composing his films, editing his films, shooting, doing everything across the board. And that's a very similar mentality to what I have. It's just convenient. It's a lot faster if you can learn to be proficient in a lot of these creative things. But to get back to your question, I mean, I guess when it comes to movies, especially, or like any sort of video editing, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And I'm not comfortable putting things out there that I'm not close to 100% confident in, which is why it's taken so long to get this movie out and about. But it's something that sneaks up on you. It's like, oh wow, all right, we're entering how many years now that we've been working on this thing? You want it just out there because it doesn't exist until it's out there. So I don't know. It's just trying to manage time and dealing with the different workloads that come up.
Well, and also like correct me if I'm wrong, you're not contracted by like a major studio for any of this, right? Like this is all stuff because I see your opinions on the internet, and I'm like, there's no way this guy's contracted by a major studio. I say that with love. Yes.
We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode.
I do a lot of, in my downtime for my day-to-day work, I do corporate work under my real name. And luckily, no chickens have come home to roost yet in terms of anything I've espoused online through my podcast or otherwise. It was very weird. One of my actors in Mass State Lottery passed away recently.
I saw that.
Buddy Duress, very talented guy.
He's in Good Time, right?
Yes,
Yes,
he's the best in Good Time. He's the best part of that movie. He's fantastic. He plays two different characters in Mass State Lottery, and it was this surreal thing where I had journalists from like People magazine reaching out to me to talk about Buddy in the movie and all this.
Wow.
I'm just like, why are they treating me like I'm a real person in this space? Nobody looks into any of that, I think, as long as you avoid pissing off the wrong people. So I don't until the other side of that drops, it's just a thing. But we do have a studio that is independent, that is small. They put out Alex's War, the documentary on Alex Jones, and TFW No GF. They are the company that is behind Omega Fish Corp, which is going to be a series that is dropping this year. And that's like the biggest project I've done to date in terms of a budget. But Mass State Lottery has been 4 years of shooting, picking up on and off, trying to take advantage of the moment, shoehorn this and there, fix this and that. And it's been a very similar process to writing a novel, where if you're like the sole author, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can change any element that's not working. And if you wait long enough, some new thing is going to arise that is going to benefit the project. And that was certainly the case with a lot of this AI shit. I'll tell you that. A lot of people are afraid of AI. Love it.
You've embraced it. You were on Agitator, and I thought I'm very scared of it. But anyways, it doesn't really. I guess for my medium, it doesn't really only makes, like I said, like Donald Trump playing for the Steelers, and that's fine. I do need that, but like for the most part, like I could see for you being independent and like again waiting on somebody else to do something. Whether that gets done can be tough when there is like a human element involved. But I know like David and Kelby, like sometimes some of the dumb, arduous parts of writing of just like, outlining or whatever, they do have tools that perhaps they could use for that. It's the same for you, right?
The AI that J. David Osborne showed me for how he works on his books was really mind-blowing. The sophistication of the writing that it will spit out. Like you could type in, I love milk. And then it'll give you a 3-paragraph, detailed, very descriptive, professional, piece of writing in exchange for that very simple prompt. And that is not something that I certainly ever anticipated. But I'll give you an example for filmmaking purposes. When we shot Mass State Lottery, the first very chunk of it, me and Hans is my co-star in the movie. He's kind of the antagonist of the film. We wound up getting caught out in a Massachusetts blizzard while we were shooting in a car. And cars are not the best space to record audio because you're going to get very tinny, just unpleasant sound for the most part. And on top of that, we just had in the background from snow and hail hitting the car. And I was like, the audio in this is terrible. We can do ADR, but Hans is not a professionally trained actor, and if I'm trying to direct him over Zoom to do ADR and dub his lines, there's going to be something noticeable there, and it's not going to work. So there were takes that I was just like, can't use it. That's it. All right, we lost a very funny, ad lib from Hans or whatever it might be. Fast forward 2 years, they have introduced AIs through Adobe and even built into one of the mainstream video editing softwares, Blackmagic Design, that are so much more elaborate than what was available in 2020 and 2021, where it wipes out all of that. And typically, if you apply any sort of filter, even the best filters on noisy dialogue, you're going to get something that sounds a little robotic, that sounds a little tin can. And that's not the case with the AI. The AI will reconstruct the voice from scratch, which is a little spooky. Who knows what they're doing with that? But it winds up creating this very clean sounding version. And an early bug with those is that it would sound a little robotic. That's gone now. That doesn't really seem to be the case anymore. It just seems like it is very, it's able to track what it wants out of that audio that is contaminating it very, very well. and preserving the vocal. So I was able to save so many of the best takes that I had to clip, or scenes that just weren't going to work due to technical reasons. And it's been a total game changer. It's been very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's that's the kind of stuff I like seeing, even if I don't have a great long-term projection for where this goes. But at that point, you know, for like these little small things, or it's not a small thing, but to somebody viewing the movie that doesn't know how it's made, that is a small thing. But
Absolutely.
to you it's like make or break almost.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like that I understand. I mean, and that does level the playing field in a sense, like, which I do acknowledge is a real thing, like, and it is cool. So
I do think it all leads to doomsday. Let's make that clear. I think the very long term is probably criminal, horrible, scary results that will weed all three of us on this call out of doing things like this and everything else. I can't imagine, but for now anyway, it's been very helpful in just getting this project done.
No, that's, I mean, look, that's pretty much when you get down to it, I think that's everybody's take. And it's, look, dude, like it's going to be here. There's huge money behind it. It's definitely evil to me, but
yeah. Have you guys, have you heard the George Carlin AI comedy album that was posted to YouTube by Mad TV alum Will Sasso?
Oh no.
No.
It's as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
So beware of that. Avoid that, I guess.
Oh,
that's
God.
the future.
That's the problem, is like, that's why I hate AI, is because I'm going to listen to that tonight. It's this thing where I think the human mind, it's not what AI can accomplish. It's what we crave as humans will be AI. And that's what I hate. Like the problem is like, we've already kind of like lost our attention span. All right, cool, fine. That happened before AI, but like, then it's most people now pack out the movie theaters for Marvel and things like that. And just a lot of this like super hardcore, like Marvel type movies and stuff. And I'm like, that's and now everybody can't just sit down and watch like a slow burn movie or something, and like or anything that takes a little process. And I think like AI is just like, that's where people are going to crave that. People are going to like look after, I think, in like 100 years and not be able to tell something beautifully hand drawn versus something that wasn't. And I'm like, that's the problem I have. It's just like people will just submit to it completely, and it's like, I don't know. But if it saved your movie, it saved your movie.
It saved my movie. Yeah. I mean, I do think on the flip side, obviously, we don't know just how intelligent the AI is going to get as things go along. We can only imagine the sky is the limit, right? But I do have confidence in the human ability to be able to sift out what is authentic and what isn't. Because I'll give you another example here with some of the Midjourney AI or even the audio AI that I referenced before. If it's not clear up front that it's AI, through repetition, you're going to start to pick up on very particular traits that are not equipped for the purest, most raw version of whatever that is. And I think as often as that does update itself, and you take a look at Midjourney from, I don't know, 2022 versus Midjourney now, and it's night and day. You know, it's really got creative styles and ability to illustrate down pat in a way that it didn't before. If you see it enough, you do start to detect that it's not the same thing as somebody sitting down and like Frank Miller doing a Batman sketch, whatever that might be. What is the cap on that for us? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But so far, I think we've updated our skills appropriately to be able to sniff that out.
Yeah, no, and I hope so. I like being the guy that's like, well, it could be this bad, and then somebody's like, well, no, it won't be, and I'm like, well, hopefully it's in the middle. Hopefully it's in the middle. That's all it is. Because like my coworkers just watch nothing. Now we're not talking about high IQ people that I work with, including me, but the people, they'll be watching these couple fight like Instagram reels, and I'm like, they think it's real. And I know
like the scripted.
I know that's not AI, but I'm like, that's two people acting on Instagram, right? Like they're like, dude, I think she's wrong for that. And I'm like, Well, yeah, she is wrong, but it would. I mean, you think that's a real skit? You think like these people have like these people have? There's lighting in the background, like you can see it. It's just like it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
LowRes made it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We
Yes.
saved it. That was the
That's
one.
my
that was
corporate
saved.
job.
Yeah.
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 I get stuff like that from my mom every so often, where like there's a sound effect added to some cat video or whatever it might be, and I'm just like, haha, yeah, it's amusing.
I'm glad. That's why they made the iPhone reaction, by the way, on iPhone. The haha is for when you get a like that. Type of video.
Yeah.
It's not there because they know you're like even typing haha. It's like after a while, it's like your mom catches on to that. Like she's like, "Did you even watch it?" You know. But like the haha like is I've sent like it made me look crazy. I was talking to my mom once, and like there was like 4 straight. We had a full like conversation, it seemed like, but it was 4 straight messages of mine and it was just 4 straight reactions from her. But it looked like I'm just insanely just texting my mom and with no answer. Like otherwise, very strange thing with that. But so we're here to talk about Shane Carruth because we covered Primer last year, and since I watched it last year, I've watched it about 4 times. It's just a movie I just put on in the back. It's the ultimate fellas movie. I mean, it's exactly what I would do if I wasn't too scared to like do what they did. It's exactly how I would do it. I'd have the same neuroses as everybody in it. I would definitely make it so lame that I'd be in like at the same time loop of like a guy showing up at a party like for a week. I would just do that. And then I'm not even sure the ending would be as like grand as the movie is. But I found out like watching that I'm like Shane Carruth made that on like no money essentially.
Yeah. 3 years. I don't know what kind of camera he had used for that one. I'm probably as familiar with how he shot Upstream Color by hacking some DSLR camera to do that, and the means of which he managed to make such a great movie is really impressive, knowing how stripped down the production was, and that his director of photography on that film even had no experience dealing with film cameras before, and they were just kind of winging it. They were just playing, all the audio, and that got this was very surprising to me. Was like 3/4 of the movie is ADR, and I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, there were some moments where I was like, a little messy or whatever, but for the most part, to learn that, because I watched it twice today. I passively watched it one time many months ago, and then I was like, I need to give that my direct attention. And then today I watched it, and then I watched it with the audio commentary playing. And it was just very, very enriching to learn about his process on this movie.
Yeah, and I don't know, to me it's like you can tell already when that's your first film and it's all about like autistically controlling time to like not even be happy either. Like really, it's just this idea of like for me, dude, I'm hung up at work and we're starting late, and I'm like, I wish I could have just like hopped back an hour and just been like doing that, because it's just that's the way my brain is wired. And Shane's an interesting guy. He looks like dark Nathan Fielder. Like if Nathan
I was thinking that. Yeah, I was saying that all day. I was just like, he looks exactly like. I had the like curse in my head watching that. Yeah,
like an evil Nathan Fielder. Like if Nathan Fielder actually didn't like try to impress Whitney in The Curse. Like if he was just like actually we're just slumlords. Like that would be Shane Carruth. And he's a South Carolina guy. And you can just tell like that he was super talented. Now, I know there was always these rumors that he had this big movie in the works with a huge cast. The rumored Anne Hathaway, like all these people, like massive casts, and I kind of like want to see that, but I kind of don't, because I feel like a guy like that, it's like he's gonna lose control at some point. Like you're gonna eventually have to deal with the fact that you have Anne Hathaway in your movie, and like you're gonna have to be like, well, Anne Hathaway's mad, and it's like, does that guy look like a guy who can handle Anne Hathaway being mad? I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. He only made 2 movies. It's a strange career.
Very very limited club. Him and Vincent Gallo, the 2 at least released movies.
Very
club.
True.
I kind of like that the sort of promise of Shane Carruth as the master filmmaker who's clearly going to go on to great things, hasn't surfaced. I think this type of DIY, very small, very controlled filmmaking is, aside from being inspirational, it's a very niche genre of people who are able to do that and do that well. And he might be the best example of that. Like Primer feels very of that era. I think it came out in 2004?
2004, yeah.
And it feels like the thinking man's mumblecore movie.
Yeah.
There's nobody really operating at that small of a scale, making movies with such ambition, I guess, is really what the thing is here. Like if you looked at Joe Swanberg's movies or I don't know, any of those guys who were making movies with the same type of equipment, same amount of money, doing the same things with like a group of friends, they didn't have such big ideas. And you can tell Shane is a guy who is extremely smart, and the fact he's confined to such limited means makes that all the more interesting.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true. And like, Psi, like you watch like Primer, and I it's one of those movies that's meant to be watched like multiple times in a row. Yeah. I feel like he was one of those guys that was like, hey, just like leave this on a loop in a house, like a dusty TV, like frat house, like 4,000-pound TV unit, like meant to be that, the shitty black ripped couch, like all that, and just leave it running, like just leave it running. And because the first time you watch it, you're like, shit, like did I miss something? Like what happened? Or like that's crazy. I loved it. You're watching like somebody really skilled at work. You're seeing all the limitations there, whether it's budgetary or just any, so like some audio stuff. You see the limitations, but you also see somebody that's actually like kind of living the dream. Like it's like, I don't know. To me, I relate to that, where I'm like, give me the small budget, but like I'm in charge any single time, like, because that's like really being an auteur, right? Is when you're not even worried about you're not even worried about who gave you the money, really. Like, I mean, you can't, I guess, you probably worried a little bit, but I bet he came out of pocket for a lot of that,
Yeah, I don't think the budget on that was anything more than, I don't know. I would have to assume shooting it probably cost around $15,000. Like the most expensive thing was probably making a film print of it.
$7,000 budget.
Wow. Okay. All right. That makes total sense. But I wouldn't have assumed that. I would have assumed low, but not $7,000 low. That's very impressive.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No. And something else I learned too is, and this I guess just goes to show that he was working with very talented, or at least a very talented co-star in the movie, because you don't really see anyone else that much. They would rehearse endlessly and only do one take when shooting, which is that's a huge gamble to be taking, to say, all right, one take, we're moving on. All right. Very few people do that. Clint Eastwood, I think, does that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think Takeshi Kitano also works that way. Very few others want to do that.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood famously made Leonardo DiCaprio mad for J. Edgar Hoover because he didn't want to do like 47 Scorsese takes. Eastwood. That's why like the best Eastwood movies are when you're catching people, on their ascent, when they're ascending, like the actors, they're kind of ascending and stuff. Like Tightropes got like a bunch of just, Geneviève Bujold, like all these people that are just, you know them if you watch movies, but they're not these massive stars,
right.
Or they would become them. But like, yeah, Clint Eastwood would just be like, Clint Eastwood's big thing was on time and under budget. That was his thing, which is why he always was able to make movies. Always. Just it didn't matter what the subject matter was. Even when he went into like full on like Sully boomercore stuff, it was just it didn't matter. Like the studios would always get the movies. Sure, you can have this amount of money because we know you're going to use it. And then he had his own little Malpaso studio thing too. But like Shane Carruth, man, like $7,000. Like I've blown that before. I've blown $7,000 like on way worse shit. Like I'll tell you that much. Jeez.
Yeah, it's very impressive how he was able to stretch that. And to what you were saying before, I think the biggest thing I thought, okay, is he having trouble communicating some of his ideas with this film, or did I just like not get something? Did I look away from the television for a moment and get completely lost? Because the second half of the movie,
it crumbles so quickly. That's the crazy thing upon watching it again a couple of times is it just there's like a 4 or 5 minute span where it's just like, oh, and it's gone, and you're like, you wake up to the broader reality of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone really gets it.
No, I don't think it's not meant to me. I think it wins with pacing. Like, to me, it's an hour and 17 minutes, which I'm from the Jack Mason school of nothing that's 90 minutes or less is bad in movies, which I agree. Like, I'm sorry, like, you've already won by knowing that you shouldn't make a long movie. So it's like, and I'm going to watch it and whatever. But I do think like, I do think the dynamic between Shane Carruth's character and Abe, his friend, I think that's like what makes the movie, because that is like, if you've ever like had a true like brainstorming sessions, like with your friends, like that's really the conversations, like just sitting by the gas station, kind of being cryptic and coy with each other, trying to catch each other off guard a little bit. Like when you're both doing that. And yeah, like the whole part when like the one guy, like the venture capitalist guy, is all of a sudden like chasing them or something. Like, I'm like,
yeah, it gets very confusing. He doesn't hold your hand or like try to think about the lowest common denominator audience member who's just like, I don't understand anything, even the most simple things. I mean, I don't think, I have a hard time following movies with complex stories or plots, but it took, while I was essentially watching with the commentary going, to be able to go, oh, all right, so this is actually, all right, we have doubles here. We have other variants of them that are floating through the same timeline now. And he's, oh, okay. And then the ending makes sense where he goes off to Central America, wherever the hell he winds up teaching how to make these machines. So it's, and Upstream Color, I think, has the same exact problem, but less so. He would probably benefit from trying to lean on the side of making things a little simpler, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think he'd allow himself to, though.
Of course not.
It would ruin the whole experience for him. This is all for him. That's what I love. I love these like psychotic control freak people. It went a little bad in his personal life, but for the most part, like this, I love watching somebody that's, I don't know. I know it's because that's what being pretentious is, right? Essentially, like when you look at the film, is when somebody doesn't quite care about your experience watching the movie, and it's all about them and the process. I feel like that's the only way I can actually say something might be pretentious. But I think I like somebody that's pretentious. I don't know.
I think it depends. I think it just depends on the execution. I don't think it's universally good or bad. But he's like the perfect archetype of the tortured genius filmmaker, because he had it all. He had his complex movies where he was in control. He did everything. And they're clearly his vision top to bottom, and he couldn't maintain it. And the whole personal life aspect is very strange and confusing. But my impression was that he went crazy, and he got a restraining order. He had a restraining order placed on him by his ex-fiance or wife, Amy Seimetz, who stars with him in Upstream Color. And she's had her own troubled history with HBO anyway. She was in charge of that show, The Idol, originally.
Oh, that was her?
Originally, it was her. Yeah.
The one they kicked off for Sam Levinson.
Yes, it was his baby to begin with. She was supposed to be the showrunner and direct every single episode. And then it wasn't working. They were producing bad episodes. And if you watch that show, I don't know what you guys thought of it if you watched it.
I haven't seen it, but I know
there's kind of a shift with that series where a lot of the things that people were criticizing the show about, like The Weeknd is so corny. He's a corny actor. He's not being really sexy. It's almost like Sam Levinson stepped in and said, okay, I can see these problems. Let's lean into these problems and embrace these problems and make it look like it's intentional. Like, let's turn him into, clearly he's trying to be sexy, but he's a nerd, and take that angle with it, as opposed to just this veneer of like, he doesn't know how to act well in the show. So there's a shift around like episode 2 or 3 or so where that starts to set in. And I can only assume that was the before and after point of when she was in charge versus him taking over the whole thing. But I think The Idol is very fun. I thought that was great. And I loved Euphoria, the TV show on HBO. But
yeah, and like Upstream Color for me is I mean, I don't like it as much as Primer. I'll say that.
No,
much.
I don't either.
I know a lot of people, they say that's the better one. I don't think that's true. But I also see like I don't. It would have to. I would assume this movie has more of a budget than $7,000. You could see it. I mean, like some of the. I don't know. It's tough for me to tell what the expensive parts of movies, but some of like the water, like coloring scenes of it, I'm just like that. Just sounds like a guy who like had some more money, so he did more things. And I think limitations are good a lot of times. Like coming from like a analog music and stuff for a long time, like in a digital age, if you did like analog music, you were kind of looked at as like Reddit or like, you know, kind of annoying or something. Like, okay, this guy's, you know, I could make that same thing in a certain amount of time with, you know, this DAW or something. But you're like, yeah, but first off, no, you can't. Like it's going to be different. And second off, like I like the limitation. Like it stops me from making my own mistakes a lot of times. And for me with like Upstream Color, I feel like he tried to make it a more Tarkovsky type movie, this feel like you're supposed to just feel this what's happening. It's not a plot, like it's feel. But then at the end, I'm like, well, no, there was a plot. Like it actually was like kind of a linear plot at the end, I thought. And I'm like, wait, so what are you trying to do with this? That was the one thing I thought whereas Primer, I think it's just like, no, the whole time you're just supposed to be in this like loop with us. And you're supposed to realize how annoying it is to nip. It's almost like a comment. Prime is like a commentary about his process, like almost criticizing his own process. I feel like of just trying to optimize every minute of every part of your life rather than just taking your lumps and losses. I don't know. That's just to me where it's like Upstream Color. It's like, oh, it's a pig farm, but like, what even are the pigs? And you're like, oh no, the pigs. They're a thing, and it's like a thing. And I don't know. This is me.
Yeah. Psi, was that calendar intentional for this show, or is that just...
This is a cute baby animals. It's March, so actually it should be April. It's what are we in, April 3rd? That's a good eye. Yeah, you're
I know. How did you see that?
I like this.
Yeah.
No, I know, yeah, that's hilarious. Wow, that's a trip. I thought, Upstream Color is just like him with a girlfriend now. It's kind of the way it is.
Yes.
Like it's just like, I have a friend, I haven't been in touch with him in a while. He's like super duper smart, great musician too, and all this stuff. And then he got kind of this girlfriend thing, and you could just tell it was like a different dude, not in a bad way or good way or anything, but it's just it's just different, It's just like, and like he needed that, and it reminds me of like Carruth is just. I love that he's like a math major too. You could see it. You could for sure.
Well, and everybody's always like, okay, like I got, and to be honest, I suffer from this a little bit, not to that degree, but like any new thing of your life is like, let's put this into my work. Like I have a girlfriend, therefore I'm going to make a movie about my girlfriend. And you're just like, all right, cool.
Right,
I'm definitely feeling that now. I just saw a movie called Our Hitler, a film from Germany, and now I'm suddenly like not all about Hitler, but like looking at researching Hitler era stuff. And now I'm like, what if we just had like a Hitler dead body in the basement for this upcoming project? I'm just like, where can I fit Hitler into things now?
It's tough. It's tough, dude. It's tough to not like. I mean, that's what's cool about having a podcast, because all that you have to do is talk about the things that you've seen or like done this. Like that part's cool. But when you're actually like making art or something like that and putting it out there, I just laugh because Psi clocked it perfectly. It's like now you have a girlfriend, dude. Like now it's and I mean, look. The beginning is crazy because you're just like, I thought that like was Shane Carruth the whole time at the beginning, like torturing.
It actually looks too similar to him. That's the best.
Well, I would imagine that was intentional, like that it's kind of supposed to all look like vague or something. Like I thought it was meant to be this big mystery, and then at the end the whole thing was not a mystery. It was actually like, no, this actually was this weird brainwashing thing where this woman I was kind of like, oh, I kind of wanted it to be like all in her head or something, or like some kind of like woman moment, just kind of one of those movies.
That movie was my introduction to Shane Carruth. I blind bought the Blu-ray of it at Best Buy. It was on sale, and I just remember it had like a cool digi case. It looked very different from anything else. It was cardboard and not like the plastic fucking terrible cases that they do. And I watched it and I was like, okay, am I just supposed to like take this whole movie as a metaphor? Like, is this none of this is literal? This is all just like speaking to some greater idea he has cooked up in his head. And it's like, oh no, it's just eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, but mine with pigs. That's it.
It is. To me, I still feel like he's trying to do Tarkovsky. Like I do a lot of times. Like I feel like not like I don't think he's like aping the style or anything, but like I'd been at the same time just rewatching a lot of Tarkovsky for like Gain of Fiction and other things, and I'd just been looking and I was like, oh, he's trying to do that whole like cerebral thing where it's like, no, you're just whatever the weather is, that's the character's mood, you know, just kind of that whole with the water, and it's very similar to the scenes of the water in Solaris and all that, and like, you know, the farmer, and just having like this old like alternate setting where it's just this farmer making like analog beats and stuff, like just I don't know, he's making like lo-fi beats, dude, like on the farm. And I was just like, you know, it's fun. The thing is with Carruth movies, even if you don't like them, I still think they're a fun watch. I feel like you might hate them a little bit more just because you're not as far removed as I am from like somebody's brain that could be thinking that way, you know. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I enjoyed, I'll tell you what, Upstream Color was a much more difficult watch for me both times that I watched it. The first time I watched it and then watching it again today, it just, I struggled to keep my attention with it the same way that, you know, Primer kept me engaged. And I think part of that is that the visual style of Upstream Color feels also very of the time. It feels very Lena Dunham, tiny furniture. We're shooting with very inexpensive cameras that have like a particular look. Like they show fluorescent lights a certain way or something. That just, I don't know. But the style of like the crunchy, gritty 2004, 2005, whatever style of Primer, it's just so of that time, and I find it much more charming than what we get in 2013 with Upstream Color.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a very cosmic person, spiritual person, and I feel like God might have stopped Shane Carruth from making more movies. I'm not saying like, because I do think like he is a kind of a freak, you know what I mean? Like I don't think I'm usually the first person to be like, oh, a woman's accusing a very, you know, successful in his own field person of this. Let's take a look. And I looked and I'm like, nah, he does seem like that type of guy.
But the thing that's interesting with this one is I don't think she said anything publicly about this. She went and got a restraining order on her own, but there was no like, me too, I'm taking down your career.
No,
he did it himself. He posted photos of it just abruptly. Like, I mean, he's clearly
he had a meltdown, dude.
Yeah, he's a troubled guy, but I don't know if he really went off the deep end. I've read mixed reports on, you know, Reddit of all places, from the subreddit for Shane Carruth, that he's hiding out in California, living with his family, and he posted a video, I guess, of him taking down like boxes of soda with a bow and arrow, just using it as target practice. So that's what he's up to now.
That's good. Yeah, what's your day-to-day like if you're 2024 Shane Carruth, man?
It's a good question. I'm very curious.
Taking down bottles of soda, dude. Just become a YouTuber, Shane. Like, just start.
That would be great.
Just start. I mean, eventually he'll get canceled again because he'll, you know, or whatever. But yeah, to me, he definitely seems like one of those obsessive dudes. And that's funny. Like any article you read about it, and they're like, and this just speaks to like the male control freak auteur personality, to where like once they lose something, when he loses like sweet, beautiful, what's her name, Maya or something,
Amy,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
so yeah, it's her, yeah. Once you lose somebody like that, it's you know, it's not part of your script that you brought up in your head. It's like the classic, like, you know, thing, which I'm sure there's probably some truth to that. But I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, like, if you make sick movies, and he's not going to jail. I think they said he got arrested like earlier this year for like violating the restraining order.
Did he? He's still obsessed? Oh no, this is bad.
I check that. I got to fact check that real fast, but I did see that. Let me see. I think he. That's what I found weird. I was like, dude, still?
Yeah, it's been 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. No. 2022. He got arrested again.
That's still a little too recent, but. That's not great. I mean, I was secretly hoping he was like powering up right now and just gonna catch everyone off guard with Louis C.K. style comeback. But
Louis C.K. It should just be a primer with Louis C.K. trying to reverse history from his thing.
Yes,
that would be sick, dude.
Remaking Primer, that would be the move.
Or just doing Primer with everybody who's ever gotten canceled. It's like, all right, hey, like, you know, it's like going on Rogan, but you're like going on Carruth. And like, it's like, oh, like you fucked up, you know, like it's not Polanski, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Polanski as the lead as 85-year-old Polanski just trying to go back to that one night.
And you pair him with Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Carruth sitting in the box for 10 years because you have to sit in as long as it takes to get back into the time, you know?
dude, P. Diddy's in the Dominican Republic right now, going like watching Primer right now on
like,
Blu-ray. And he's just
I just saw a video of him hanging out at like a McDonald's or something, just like having a good time, posing for someone's cell phone video. This whole Diddy thing is, I think, very interesting because I feel like they're not really after Diddy. They're either after somebody else or they're trying to protect somebody. That's my feeling.
It's Jay-Z. They're after Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's always been the guy.
Mhm.
Like Diddy's like for sure like okay, yeah, Diddy's like everyone knew there's been documented skits on how weird Diddy is like forever since he's been around. It was like he would always change his name and like boomer dads would be like the Puff Diddy Daddy dog, you know, they would always say things like that. And then
it's a bit in the Bad Boys video that Ben Stiller shows up at his house and he can't get the name right or something. If I remember right, it's been 20 years.
Is it Ben Stiller? You're right. I forgot. I think it is Ben Stiller. Yeah, and no, I totally remember. That was a classic trope, was white guys showing up at rich black guys' houses just asking questions.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a big, like, it would always be like a Fred Willard kind of guy, you know, just showing up, and then they would just throw him in a dumpster, you know, and just shut up. But yeah, that's yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but like with Carruth, I'm always just like, okay, if you're not putting this guy in jail, and let's give this guy money to make movies. Because that's like that might just be the only thing he can do. You know what I mean? Like to me, like, okay, what do you think this guy's gonna do with no movie in his life? We've seen it. He's either at bare minimum he's gonna do archery on like bottles of like Big Red. You know?
Yeah, he comes from like a very, I don't know. According to something I read, and you know, again, this is all Reddit, so take it for what it is. When he originally couldn't get his third film, A Topiary, I think that the name is, off the ground, he got so discouraged, he was like, I'm quitting filmmaking. This was like 2020 or so. This was before he snapped online. And he went back to Texas. I guess he lived in Texas for a period of time before going off to California, and just went back into engineering. So he's like a math genius in his personal life, which is probably also why he snapped.
Yeah.
And then
for sure,
somehow he wound up back in California, hiding, just laying low, according to his brother or somebody. His brother was like tweeting at him like, "Hey, stop, log off.
Dude,
touch grass."
He was tweeting from the Upstream Color account, which honestly, you got to be a total loser to be like tweeting personal stuff from a teen media podcast account. Only a loser would do something like that.
I totally don't relate to that at all. It's not like I have 3 accounts doing that myself.
Stupid. Yeah, it's not like I tweet from the Rare Candy Pod account at all. No loser would ever do.
Nobody ever likes and retweets their own tweets on the media account from their personal.
It'd be retarded. Of course if you did that. It'd be a fucking loser. You'd be Anyways, Shane, can't relate.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that Rare Candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, can't do
shit. But yeah, dude, his meltdowns on there were pretty rough. Like, and it's not even like rough, like he was just like, yeah, I beat women, so what? Like, he was kind of like leaning into it, and it's like, dude, don't do that. Like, you have this, you realize Reddit exists. Like, people are gonna capture that forever, and he's one of those guys that like liking him could be kind of Reddit. So like, those people would definitely want to like, they have this weird obsession like Redditors, you know what I mean? Of like, you're so cool, but like the minute you fuck up, like then the Reddit is going to switch completely about you, like, and take you down, because he was like that indie filmmaker. I didn't hear of any of this shit when it came out. I didn't know what that was in 2004. I didn't know what Primer was. Somebody told me about it last year, and I was like, that sounds cool, you know, like, but he had a niche like following, and he was well liked. Like, you'd hear all these people. I mean, to get that cast, I mean, supposed cast, I don't know how real those things are, but like, those are some big names for this movie that, you know, people are still asking, is it going to get made? I don't think it's going to. Not with that cast.
No.
I don't think they're not going to sign up for that.
I hope he can pull it together and come. I think it would be so interesting to see what he would do with the third movie now. Now that he's been through it all, and it's been about 10 years. He released about 10 years apart, the first two films. I don't know. I think it would be fascinating to see, even if it was just something, again, like he scrapped together with $7,000 out in California with his brother or whoever. Yeah. That sort of schizophrenic project that could come about from that would be so much more interesting than a lot of things. Than Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, which is such a big hit this week. You know, I would love to see that, but
he should do an iPhone movie.
He should. Why not? I mean, the new iPhone also, I will say, you know, people are always there's the throwaway line. You can shoot a movie with your phone. You have no limitations. Well, now the newest iPhone actually has like a component where you can essentially shoot the same log or whatever as whatever a DSLR would. So you will be able to do that, which is kind of interesting. They're paying a bunch of Korean directors to do that now, I think, with that phone. I think Takashi Miike might be the latest who put out an iPhone movie called Midnight, which looked pretty good, but they don't tell you that they attached $1,000 fucking lenses onto the camera and added their own custom mount. So,
well, I've seen like just Japanese people taking pictures of food, and I'm like, that's not a phone I've ever seen.
That's
like, they got that great ass like attachment to like take a picture of boba or something. Like, it's crazy, man.
There's Kino.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is. And I gotta ask you, man, do you secretly? And it's okay. We're not manifesting anything here, but I say this the same way as somebody who wants to do what we create as a full-time job. Do you secretly want a scandal?
A scandal? Like just, for myself?
Just, like to dominate, to like be the main character. You know what I mean? Like I remember one time I saw you not like get in trouble. I hate when people say I got canceled when like people just jump on you for something. It's different. But I saw you one time. You were correct about the writer's strike. You were very vocal about it. And like there would all be all these like stupid people on Twitter that would just be like, this guy's a film director. Like they would get all mad.
Yeah.
But like, do you secretly want like the Andrew Huberman hit piece? Do you want that? I kind of do with
that. Sounds like a lot of work to get his hit piece, but
yeah, well, I mean something different. Yeah, something different, but of the same. Like he's mean. He's fucking mean, man. He like cussed at the guy, you know, or just something like that. Because people will go run and see the movie. That's the thing.
I've thought about. I mean, any time that there's been like a touch of anything bad in the press, it's always been fantastic. I'll give you, you know, back when I was just starting out on YouTube, I put out a video before the term was like mainstreamed and now it's like dead. I put out like a sketch comedy video with a couple of comedian friends of mine called Soy Boy. And I think it was, oh God, you know what, it's probably best I don't even remember the journalist's name, but they put out a hit piece on Substack or one of these platforms at the time about how Soy Boy is the far right's latest whatever. And they put me in there with like Richard Spencer and Mike Cernovich. And it's like my little video with fucking 2,000 views at the time. And it's like my face there. And if you go to, not Urban Dictionary, Know Your Meme, and you type in Soy Boy, you will see me. I'm the face of that as the character in the video, which is not great. That's not the best thing to be known for. But after that piece came out, it was like 15,000 views overnight. And I was just like, oh, wow. Okay, so you can, you know, this is a good thing, ultimately. You can ride that. So in terms of like wanting a scandal, I don't know. It's not really something I you know, pine for. But if it happens, I'm not like afraid of it happening. Back before I got into filmmaking or YouTube or podcasting, I was a novelist and I ran a publishing house for a number of years. That's still around now. And the people who run it currently turn it into this wacky far left fucking whatever. But I had put out a novel and it went to these like wine mom book readers and they hated the novel. This was like 2013 or so. And I essentially was canceled before canceling was a thing. And they were all calling me misogynistic and racist and all that based off of a fictional book. And that was like, you know, I'm 22 years old at the time. That was a lot to be dealt with, especially when cancellation was like not a norm. It wasn't something you could expect. I was like, no, I'm not racist. I'm not sexist. You know, it was a very mentally draining thing to go through. But now it's been so beneficial because if anything happens, I'm just like, fucking, who gives a shit? You know, I'll fight. You know, it's fun to fight with these people, and as long as it's not really anything bad, and as far as I know, I haven't done anything really bad.
Right.
You know, it's ultimately beneficial. It's great for marketing.
I know, dude. It's like, first off, book sounds sick. I'm just gonna say that much. That's the thing. I'm like, I didn't know that, and then also I'm like, well, they hated it, and it sucks. It sucks to like be drawn. That means you're like truly in the like, just in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? Like you're in it, and you're kind of like, damn, like the person that I don't like hates it, therefore I'm gonna want to go see it. But like that, the worst thing that can ever happen is like when somebody's just like, oh, that guy's kind of cool. Because then it really goes out and goes to see the thing of the guy who's kind of cool, unless they know you. But then that's not like a sustainable thing where it's like millions of people know me, so they go see my movie or go read my book or listen to my podcast. But for a while, like, you know, you'll see like the people like Red Scare or something like that. A lot of people that listen to Red Scare don't fucking like them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
oh yeah, there's subreddit. I mean, Reddit's been the topic of the episode as much as Shane Carruth. And I know you're not totally negative on Reddit because I've been listening to this show quite a lot. Your Art Bell episodes got me in essentially, and I started marathoning everything.
You're on one of them.
Yes, I'm on it right now. It's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, their subreddit is really vicious towards them. It seems like 50% of the time.
Yeah. And I meant you're actually on the Art Bell episode because you had a sick ass.
Yes, my project Ghost.
That was a cool, dude. I was thinking about a sick like New Line Cinema '90s movie with what you were describing.
Oh hell yeah! Cool. Directed by Bill Duke, featuring Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah, dude, Bones, like Bones style. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. But no, we're not. I mean, for me, it's like Reddit is just one of those things. Like everything popular will eventually become that. Everything cool, eventually becomes that because people just are really, they'll let people enjoy things. Part of it takes hold, and it eventually just becomes this kind of like nerddom thing that happens. But at the end of the day, dude, like when I'm not gonna let those people decide like, oh, now that thing's like Reddit, I can't like it anymore. It's like, no, it's Reddit and I like it. That's
I still regularly, I don't use Reddit because I got banned from Reddit for like spamming or so. I don't know what the hell I did wrong. I don't know. But I still regularly visit Reddit for news information. I mean, clearly it was very beneficial for this program talking about Shane Carruth, who I knew almost nothing about yesterday. So I think it is definitely useful, but that's the curse of anything great, you know. And to relate this back to like filmmaking, you can take a look at a movie like you mentioned Christopher Nolan, I think at the start of the show. You take a look at The Dark Knight, for as big of a moment as that was when it came out in 2008. Just everything that the ripples it caused in filmmaking have been irreparably harmful to the quality of movies coming out. Just like the superhero culture that we lived in for 15 years, which I think is dead now. I think it's done. I think horror has taken over for all the Marvel shit. And the way that they talk about horror movies now is the same way that they were talking about Iron Man 3 and Thor 4 5-6 years ago.
Good call. Yeah, because you recently have talked about. I just saw a funny. Letterboxd is another Reddit. It's like if you're sick, Letterboxd.
Oh yeah,
is cool. Like because if you're good on there, you're good. It's funny. Like when you see somebody that's like annoying and they have a Letterboxd as their link in their bio, you're like, all right, I got you there. But like there was that new movie that came out and you called it Portland something horror.
Portland soy horror is my like shorthand for this genre of horror that leans really into like Satanism is cool and all that. Maybe it is cool. I don't know anything about Satanism.
No, it's not.
But from my impression, it's certainly not. It's very corny, and the people who like it have the worst taste imaginable. And this movie Late Night with the Devil came out, and I clocked it immediately for being what it was. But I was like, I'm going to give it a shot because I kind of like the concept here, and the lead actor is enjoyable enough. And I was just having a week where I was going out like every single day to go do something different. Like I was at the movies 3 or 4 times, and I watched this film, and as soon as like the demon comes out of the girl on the stage, and then there's a woman on the stage who's battling her, and she reaches for a medallion on her neck, and it's not a cross. It's like a Haitian voodoo thing, and it's like a white lady. I was just like, this is supposed to be 1970, and you're battling it with a fucking little wooden block that's not a crucifix. This is not legit. And they lean into certain things that aesthetically are very off-putting to me. And it's I'll give you another example of a title that meets this description. Cinestate was a company that put out some great films when S. Craig Zoller was involved as a director. They put out Brawl in Cell Block 99, Bone Tomahawk, Dragged Across Concrete.
Beautiful.
They got a little larger. They acquired Fangoria. And the people who were running Fangoria at the time, also examples of having terrible, terrible taste, but they made a couple of movies, and one is called Satanic Panic. And it embodies everything wrong with the self-identifying horror community or horror fan these days, where they just lean into the worst indulgences of whatever that is and reiterate things you've seen 100 times over in these movies because they're paying respect and they're not interested in innovating or coming up with new things to bring to the genre. And this Late Night with the Devil movie, I thought fell into that trap. Most of its 90-minute runtime.
At least it had the decency of being 90 minutes. Because
it kept it short.
We did an episode recently on Limitless, and it was like, Limitless, look, for everything people want it to be, it's like, oh, I wish they went into this more. I wish they, went into like the process of the drug more. I'm like, I don't, because we would have lost it. Like that movie's pure frat bro like beauty, like fantasy.
Is that the Bradley Cooper movie?
Yeah, with the NZT drug that makes him see everything. But it's a total just fast paced, fun movie. But like now I see everything. I think the problem is right now is everything's. People balk at this because they're like, no, there's a lot of trash out there, but everything's like looks kind of good, and that's kind of the problem. Like there's nothing that's like, oh, that's trash. Like, because it'll be shot. You'll see a fucking drone shot of like over a creek, like in a true crime documentary almost. That'll be the opening scene. You're like, whoa, this is done by a professional. There was a budget, and you'll see that, and it seems so easy to do now for like the average film, but you realize you're watching like nothing happen, and it's not even something you can laugh about with your friends. I mean, maybe you can, but for the most part, I'm like, man, the worst part is that everything's just like kind of okay.
Everything's
now.
Professional. It's very easy to achieve a professional look. And what winds up happening is if you watch a lot of that and you have like a particular eye for like a Netflix house style, Psi's cat is really the MVP of this episode. Look at that face. What a great face on a cat.
Yeah.
If you see a lot of that stuff, you start to pick up on repeated commonalities with things. Like people often refer to like an A24 style, and even if A24 doesn't necessarily have a real style outside of how they acquire movies, because I don't think they do anything in-house, you can still sometimes pick up on certain things they'll lean into that suit their like visual taste. And Netflix definitely has a house style to how they do things.
Sure.
And a lot of the time it's not like the most interesting compositions. And so I feel like that's where things have gone now in terms of how you consider something looking good. It's like, okay, we got professionalism down. That's very easy. That'll cost you $2,000 and you can do that pretty well. You're not going to run into a primer situation where the people are out of focus and the fridge is in focus. That's pretty rare. It's more a matter of, okay, what do we got going on the left to the right and the set, doing all that. So okay. Now question for you. And I want to find out I'll find out what kind of person you are, what kind of director you are, how in control you want to be. All right. I can either give you the equivalent in Biden inflation of Shane Carruth's primer budget, which let's put it at 30,000 right now. Let's say that, and you get to do whatever you want. You get to make just the perfect low budget movie. You have willing people to do it with you. They're down to work with you and everything. So, and you're going to be able to make the movie that you want for 30K, but we're not really going to put money into promotion, but you made the thing you want, or I give you the big budget film, but somebody's up your ass the entire time. And it's not the movie that you wanted to make. What do you do? I would take the smaller one, and I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I would tell you that for a fact, because having worked on just a bigger project like Omega Fish Corp, where I'm not the sole director on that. I'm a co-director
Yeah.
and co-showrunner. And what I've, the co-director on that has been Total Dream, one of my closest friends. But my big takeaway having done that now is like the way that I spend $20,000 is the same way I spend $500. And all the same problems just become a little bit bigger. And they are much more exhausting when you have to cross-check with other people and be like, hey, do you like this idea? What do you think about doing this idea? As opposed to just doing the idea. And so, even though I've had a good time working on Omega Fish Corp with the co-director, GMAC is his handle. He's best known for like a meme that went viral that was fake. That was him accusing. It was like a teenage photo of him, and the headline was something like, teacher reported to the police for giving bad head or something. I don't know. It was making fun of like the teacher-student pedophilia scandals.
Yeah, of course.
But he's been great to work with. I would never co-direct anything again, regardless of the amount of money. I don't like the constraints there. I like being able to just, I can pick up my little camera and go shoot, and then I can edit for 7 hours in the day. So it wouldn't matter. I've worked with very low budgets. I've worked with higher budgets. Control's important. Trusting your own sensibilities is important, and I think you have to collaborate with people. But if it's impeding upon your own, your own fortitude as an artist, you have to recalibrate yourself. So no, I would absolutely mean it. Take the smaller budget.
Yeah, because I'm the same way. Because it's like I would just stay at my job because all that stuff with the movie. I understand making movies or whatever. Like for me, it would be like professional radio. I tried to get into professional radio. I had a college radio show that was like, it had more listeners than this show. I mean, seriously, like it did. It was a pretty big like Bay Area college radio show, and I did it. But it sucked because I had to read a fucking ad for hospce care at a certain time.
For hospice?
Yeah, it was hospice care, dude.
Wow.
Business was booming, dude. I don't know what. I'm like, dude, they listen to underground rap. You know what I mean? Like those people are like listening to like the hieroglyphics, and they're like, where do I put my grandma tomorrow? Like it's very strange. But there was, hospice care or, all these things that are like etched into my brain forever. These like random ads. And I'm like, this isn't that fun. Like, why can't I just fucking go off the cuff? Like, why can't, it's not even about cussing. It's not about being edgy or anything, but it's like, dude, the best part is just like when I would listen to Art Bell, it's like Art Bell has rules. He has rules. He has thing, but it's kind of his rules, like, and in the same way with like Shane Carruth, that's why I loved seeing somebody with like a small budget like that. Just, I mean, look, maybe not everything came out the way it wanted to do. I'm sure he'll always find something with that movie. It's just probably his mentality to be like, that could have been different. The fridge out of focus, that these things could have happened. But I'm like, at the end of the day, dude, like there's probably the freest you ever feel, right? It's just like, but it sucks when you put it out and there's just like nobody, people don't have the same enthusiasm you do, and everybody that looks at it, everybody that clicks on it is like, hey, that was tight. Like, why don't more people like this? And you're like, I don't know, man. And it still puts you in this weird loop either way. It can be tough.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And the quickest way to fall out of love with whatever it is you're doing is to do it for money.
I know.
So that's definitely something that I felt like, not regarding like Omega Fish Corp, but I'll give you an example. When I moved to New York, I did a lot of fashion adverts and directing. I still do it today, but I learned very quickly that if you try to embellish any sort of creative aspect on something where it's a pay for, it's a director for hire kind of gig,
right?
And they're not vibing with it, or it doesn't meet whatever like the company, aesthetic is. You're going to find that quickly discouraging and hate what you're doing. And you kind of just have to give them what they want if you want to continue that. And it's tough. It's tough because obviously everybody wants to do what they love for a living, but you don't necessarily consider what the real cost of that is and how it's going to change your relationship with what it is you're doing. So you got to be very patient, I think, if you want to do it on your own terms.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it was crazy. I was listening to the latest Brett Easton Ellis pod today where he has every once in a while he just brings on like a gay porn star. And like, you want to talk about like Shane Carruth level autism, like Brett Easton Ellis is like just, He's like, yeah, in this scene, he's like, you perform well under this one. I've noticed with certain actors, it takes about 48 minutes. And like, it's like he gets like super into it. And it'll be at the end, like the producer who's like a straight guy, Adam, and he's like asking the guy who's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know if I call myself like gay, but he's like straight up like pounding guys like all day on like camera. He's like, I don't know if I call myself gay or not, but whatever. And they're like, and then the producer's like, well, I mean, like, just not to say anything, I wouldn't do gay for pay. Like, there's just no amount of money that would like ever, do that. And he's like, the guy at the end, he's just like, what's something like you would never have in life? And then the guy was like, a 9-to-5 job. He's like, I'm doing gay for pay because I hate working that much. And I was like, look, I'm not there, but there's just certain aspects where I'm like, damn, dude, like, I really fucking hate having a job. So it's like, it's like there's this like kamikaze element to me sometimes where I'm just like, what if I just didn't have that? Like, what if I mean, look, I definitely have things I need to be doing and things that the job that I have does it, but it's like, I hate being managed, man. I don't think I'm fit for society, because once you get a taste, even if it's not successful in a monetary sense, like even if it's not successful, but it kind of touched a certain part of your brain and like made you feel alive for a second, you're like, whoa, like I can't ever go do anything again. And it kind of sucks. Like I kind of, when I see that Shane Carruth meltdown, it's cringe, but I'm like, I get it a little bit. I'm just better with women, I don't know.
No, I do deeply relate to that on all fronts. I've been very fortunate that, I would say 90% of my work is stuff I can tolerate doing in terms of, the creative stuff. And then there's also just like a lot of jobs I get that is voiceover, and that's the easiest fucking thing in the world. They need a neutral I don't know how my voice is neutral American accent for Japanese and Australian companies, but it's been very good. So if you ever visit Japan or Australia, you might hear my voice for, I don't know, some weird companies.
So sick. That'd be so sick. Oh my gosh. But that's tight though, dude. I mean, like that, even stuff like that, it's like, okay, it's okay to have someone say, look, I want this, can you do this for me? Okay, yeah, I will do this. That's okay. But it's just, man, like and like for you, you've talked about it, like, oh, look, you have your professional life, you have your corporate this, corporate that, you go by a name that's on the internet that's not your name, and like, you don't exactly leave it up for mystery though. Like somebody could make the connection, right? Like somebody could.
People have been calling me Jay left and right. They got real comfortable calling me by my first name. So it's out there. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to release anything creative that's like a significant. I mean, I've been working on Mass State Lottery this is the 4th year as of like this month. 4 years I've been working on this fucking movie. I don't want to put that out on like with a YouTube handle for director. Jack said this plenty of times on his podcast, how it was like night and day between the Jack the Perfume Nationalist versus Jack Mason if you're going to do anything significant. So I'm of that mentality, and I'm cool with whatever happens as a result of that. I was never really afraid to begin with of people being like, oh, we're going to dox you, we're going to try, that's never been a problem for me. So I don't know. I'm not really, it's not something I think about. Negative repercussions of that.
Yeah, because like, dude, I'm sorry. I would hate to be a guy, because you see people that do both, right? There's people that have like a fake name but still are scared to talk about, like, I don't know, the subway in New York without offending somebody. And I'm like, dude, so you live a fake personality, but you don't even like but you still have to play the little game, the little like leftist game on the internet, like of just not acknowledging reality and stuff. I brought up New York because I love when you talk about New York.
Yeah, I complain so much about New York, but I it's one of my pet peeves to see people on X, especially, where they will offer you tons of life advice or advice on women or how to, get healthy, and then they're afraid to put out a book under their real name. Like, it's hundreds of pages you've written of life advice on how to live well, but you won't be able to live well if you just say your real name.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Don't ever say.
Of course
your
not.
name. Yeah, that's bad.
So. It's hard for me to take anyone seriously or see any lasting impact come about from people who do operate under a pseudonym, especially when it's like a very wacky pseudonym, like like BAP or somebody along. I don't know anything about what they get into, or it might be good. I have no idea, but I could never take it seriously with that as the name.
No, I'm just like, dude, what are you fucking running from, dude? You have a popular book. First off, I am way too vain to let even a fake personality take credit for what I do. Like, it's like, even if it's still me, the check comes to me. I'm like, no, you need to know who I am. You know what I mean? Like, or at least be able to tell. Like, it's just it's crazy. Like, you have to be able to. I think some of these people just might have way better professional careers that they value.
I think that's exactly right. What we see with some of these people, and there's one in particular that his pseudonym is not coming to mind, but I think he popped on Red Scare once or twice. He was like a very well-off Boston professor, and he only outed his name recently. So I think these people do come from very cozy, very comfortable backgrounds, and they'd be fine at the end of the day if they did lose whatever their profession was. Not to say that that's what should happen. Obviously, best case scenario, that would never happen with people espousing their thoughts or opinions. But it's the people who I think would be lined up and fine regardless. It's not the guy who's working an office job, making close to minimum wage, or doing DoorDash. It's never those types.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, to me, I'm like, to be honest, and this is always people who love like canceling and doxing people. They always love to pretend that like, well, we actually are like helping them because this is what gets them into the whole like right wing, canceled from your job thing. But in a sense, there are those people who are, these people that are academics that write a book about like girls' pussies or something, and like, but it's based and whatever, and they'll do that, and they'll be so scared, or they'll do this like, okay. There's one guy, everybody who knows him. There's this health guy who did like a public doxing. Like he's got long hair. He's an Australian guy, and he does these weird like health things on Twitter. He's very popular. It's always seemed kind of retarded to me. And I say this as a person who probably agrees with like 60% of what he's like pushing out there, even some of the wacky stuff. But he did this like, I'm taking the mask off. And it was like this super like 1080p, dude, like just like video. And he's like, it's me and my name, it's Kyle. I don't know if his name is Kyle, but like he did this whole thing. And I'm like, is this what this is all about now? Now you're doing like anonymity reveals. Like that's what we're going to be doing for these people. I don't think that's very good. I don't like it at all. I don't know. Whatever. They got more money than I do, probably. That's probably what it is. They have more money than me. And the thing is, too, is people like Rogan, people like all these people that I respect, they fucking love when academics get fired, too. Like they don't ever go after the guy who got fired from like, unless he gets the bump from those people, Fox News or whatever. But like when it's just a random guy that gets fired from construction job, from office job or something, like those guys tend to not really get the bump. But when somebody gets fired from like Harvard for saying like something about gender or something, like they get asked to come on all the like the circuits and all these things. So it's like, it's weird. Like they control anonymity and the like revealing, like it's all this thing. And it I gotta say, I'm a little jealous, but I also, it's such a foreign thing to me because I've always wanted credit. Like I'm like, no, that's me. I even like Mark, like for me, my pseudonym's more of like a Mark Twain thing where it's like everybody knew what Mark Twain looked like. He just didn't use his name, but that was just because we started this podcast as like a fucking fun thing. And I had a troll account, like, and I just went by that name. And I was like, well, it sounds cool. I like it. And like, maybe perhaps when you're talking about like chemotherapy not being very good and like all these things, like perhaps maybe not having your government name just that accessible, making people like go through like one security level to find it. It's a little bit better, I guess. But at the end of the day, the Band-Aid's going to come off. Somebody's going to go find it if it goes the way I want it to go,
Yeah, it's not that difficult. If someone is determined, if you have like an obsessed hater, they're going to get information one way or another. I mean, with me, I think I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of pseudonyms. I think in that space, like X and you're writing books and all that, if you do the handle, it's unnecessary. If it's like a Stephen King, Richard Bachman thing where it's just like, this is a different vibe, or I want to see if I can excel in doing this or that without my name attached. I don't judge that really. I think I understand the purpose behind that much more. It's just like the cowardice and authority behind that, and that dichotomy of, okay, I know what's best for you, but also I have to hide behind this precious pseudonym here. I don't like that very much at all.
I know.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, LowRes, I really want to thank you for coming through to our show. I will say, if you ever need a guy with zero acting experience, a guy that you're going to have to coach a lot, and you're doing perhaps like a burnout noir movie set in California where I don't have to travel too far, I'm your guy.
I will keep you in mind for certain. Yeah.
For a guy, no lines, dude. With no lines.
I was going to ask real quick before we wrap up. Have you heard anything about this Art Bell movie that's in the works?
No. What the hell? What happened? Art Bell movie.
I was thinking about doing an Art Bell kind of project for a while, and then someone hit me up and said, "Oh, this is a project that's in development right now." And as soon as I heard that, I was like, "Oh, well, fuck that idea then." I guess there's an Art Bell coast to coast movie, like a biopic, in the works right now from Walter Kern.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So that could be interesting. I don't know what to expect.
No, I like Walter Kern. I just didn't see that coming. Yeah, I haven't seen. I'm like, it's nothing on Google right now that I'm seeing.
No, I'm kind of breaking this news on the show here.
Wow,
but I know
not a bad place to do it.
You know, you seem to be as big of the second biggest Art Bell fan besides myself, of course.
Dude, you're if I type in coast to coast movie, LowRes YouTube channel comes up 5th result on Google.
Whoa.
Not to brag.
You know, there's not a whole lot about him that's out there. There's a lot of uploads from archive.org that people then put into RSS feeds on Spotify and YouTube, but there's not a whole lot. And I think the day is going to come where there's a reappraisal of Art Bell, and people are going to be talking about him much more because there's so much good stuff. And, you know, that show is just endless entertainment. It's usually what I'm doing at this hour is listening to that. It's
nobody listens to the 3 hours either. You can tell nobody like throws on the 2.5 hour, 3 hour, like full, just open lines, like unhinged, like kind of guy. Like people like that last caller's an idiot. Like, you know, like that. Nobody does that. They listen to like, you know, a couple of the famous clips. They they don't even know he's like part of like the Day After Tomorrow and stuff like that. Like they don't know.
I didn't know that, actually. I'm gonna have to go rewatch that movie now. I saw that in theaters too when it came out. But him
and Whitley Strieber, I guess that was their idea, or like their
okay.
yeah, I guess, yeah. Oh, it was so Art Bell and Whitley Strieber wrote a book called The Coming Global Superstorm, and that The Day After Tomorrow, whoever wrote that movie, I guess, just aped it basically. And took and it's not even like, oh, they secretly stole, like, no, like they admitted that was the case. When that happened, no, it's so much of this stuff. I mean, Art Bell and Crichton are two huge, massive people of the 90s, Michael Crichton and Art Bell, that you don't really hear anybody talk about it anymore.
No,
probably because they weren't really left-leaning guys, either one of them. I would.
That's what's been so refreshing in listening to your show is this sort of spotlight focus on Michael Crichton that is accurate to the impact that he made in that decade.
Yeah.
And he has produced so much good shit. I've only read one of his books, Five Patients, which was the premise of ER.
That's a deep cut too. Like,
yeah,
I haven't read that.
It's kind of hard to track down. I had to get a really like yellow paperback on eBay of it. Yeah. But he's fantastic, and I've watched some of his talks on YouTube and everything, and he was very ahead of the curve. So people got to give him another consideration.
Yeah. So you're thinking about a guy who kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say he invented like the theme park style movie, but he kind of did. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, if you wanted to go back as far as Westworld, and then you talk about Jurassic Park was where it really got, you know, just honed down, like that classic like theme park experience movie. And he's obsessed, dude. He had like 1.5 hour talks about like theme parks, like just autistically like random, like, you know, Kentucky theme parks. So he's like, and I love this, and like he was obsessed with like the spectacle aspect of that, and then and why people responded so well to them, why people wanted their picture taken, you know, while they're going down a slide and stuff. And he also debunked climate change, which is also why you don't hear about him at all. Like, really, I think that's truly why people kind of retcon him as like Jurassic Park and then Airport is the two things. Like Airport style novels is basically how they're like, oh, that's James Patterson. He gets like he made a lot of money, but that's just boomer airport novels, which is just not true. And then also, you know, co-writing Twister with his wife, and I think it was a writing credit that he got for that. And
I actually didn't know he was involved with Twister at all.
Yeah,
that's interesting. All right, I'm gonna have to revisit that one.
Yeah.
Then.
So exactly, it's like all these things you find out. I mean, his directorial debut was I can't remember which one
was it. Westworld?
It might have been Westworld, but Coma, I believe, is his masterpiece to me.
Yes, Coma is very enjoyable.
Coma is very good. So it's like, and then he had this one 80s movie with like Albert Finney that was not good, but it was just like it was this like erotic thriller movie, and it was like it just didn't.
With Albert Finney,
I think it is. I've watched it. It was one of those ones where I was in my phone like 10 minutes in. Sorry, Mike, but yeah, it was. He had all these crazy things, and you go on YouTube and you type in like Michael Crichton, it's like somebody for 5 minutes talking about Jurassic Park, and that's like all that's on YouTube. And I was just like, why aren't people talking about this guy in like a Beatles type format? Like this dude like straight up dominated for like 40 years, like, and then died after a couple of years after global warming turned into climate change after State of Fear. Like they had to rebrand because the dude crushed it with State of Fear.
That was my introduction to a lot of his speaking gigs, is listening to his opinions on global warming at the time, and then realizing, oh wow, this dude is very in the know, and he's very elevated in terms of where people were at during that time and their opinions on global warming. But talk about a renaissance, man. He accomplished so much, and what he started in the medical field, right? Because that was the origin of ER, and 5 Patients, I think, is auto fiction, or it's maybe based off of his experience working for Boston General, I think. So yeah, he very talented, very smart guy, kind of similar to Shane Carruth in that way, but Shane Carruth kind of exploded off the runway, and
Shane didn't have the mainstream juice. Crichton, what I love about Crichton, and these are like all my favorite people, is that they knew their quirks, they knew their lane, but they also knew how to like get everybody into it too, like rather than like being this like intentionally kind of, which I like about Shane Carruth. I think that's cool, but I always tend to be drawn to like the guys who are like, no, I want everyone to see this. Like I want everyone to like at least have an enjoyable experience. You might not get it. You might not watch Andromeda Strain and think about like, wow, that's interesting. Like, you know, you might just think, oh, that's just a thrilling science fiction movie, which it is. That's the beauty of it, is that it is, even if you don't fully understand it, or understand what we went through in 2020 with all that. But by the way, that movie's called Looker with Albert Finney and James Coburn and Susan Day. It's a Michael Crichton joint. It's that guy it just wasn't good. But yeah, hey, look, to be honest, for his career, he doesn't really have that many misses in the filmmaking part of it, and that he learned from watching was it Robert Wise doing Andromeda Strain, which is a great adaptation. He was like, damn, that dude like really took my book to like a new level, and he was like, I think I want to do that. And then he did Westworld, which is pretty fucking good. Like it holds up. Like I enjoy it. So yeah, I mean, anyways, that's anytime somebody brings up the C word, which I think I did, but it's okay. I know you're a fan too. So
I'm a newer fan. You know, I'm still getting into those waters of his writing. So
I didn't grow up with him at all, dude. It was crazy. My mother-in-law found Coma in the library a couple years ago and was like, we should watch this. And I looked, I'm like, isn't that the fucking guy who wrote Jurassic Park? That dude made a movie. And that's I mean, it's a newer thing for me. And then I've read about, I think 8 of his books now, and I just like they're fun, they're addicting. Like, so
yeah,
trying to spread the pill, man. Trying to get it around there. I mean, he used to have a pseudonym too. John Lang. He used to write hard-boiled crime.
That's right.
There's a book called Zero Cool. And it's like got like it's a hard-boiled kind of like Detective Wolfman core book, like it's
hell yeah. All right. If it's in vein of One Detective Wolfman, I'm gonna have to check it out.
I don't know if he's read it, but it just looks like some shit he would get into.
Just his vibe, his style matches
vibe,
it.
Dude.
Yeah.
So
Coma's a great slept on movie. I got into that because I'm a big George C. Scott fan, and he certainly has his number of tirades in the movie. He's the best angry actor, I think, of all time. So
George C. Scott, dude.
I definitely have to co-sign that. That's
What's
worth
that
a
horror
watch.
movie? The early '80s.
The Changeling.
I love that movie. Yeah,
that's enough. He's got so many, like his career, like the quality of film declines, but he maintains that level of quality as an actor, and he always brings it. Like I watched some made-for-TV William Peterson. I think it was a backdoor pilot for a procedural show in the '90s called Cacao, and it was a total piece of shit.
Cacao?
Yeah, Cacao.
that's sick.
And he's fun in it. It makes it a fun watch. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Crichton. I was inundated with his work at a young age, and I didn't even realize it. So
No,
it's just
you can't
coming
avoid
around.
him. You've heard of everything, but you just don't see like random like Twitter accounts that'll just be like. To be honest, I've seen him pop up recently, and I feel some type of way. To be honest, where hey, did you guys know? Like,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder
That'll
how
happen.
wonder how
He'll
you
have his
found
day in the
that.
sun. Yeah.
Literally nobody was talking about. I'm like, this is just some 6'8" genius, 190 IQ guy that just like charismatic, fun, Charlie Rose every other week. Like, just who knows? But anyways, LowRes, what? I know you don't have dates for any of this stuff yet, or anything that's coming out. I don't want to pressure you to, but when can we look for some of your work coming out?
Well, there's like you just said, there's no date set just yet, but you can visit forgottengenres.com. I update that pretty regularly. The series Omega Fish Corp will probably wind up dropping before Mass State Lottery comes out later this year. I'm hoping to have that available to the public by December because it is a Christmas movie. But Omega Fish Corp will be out through Massacre Video, and I believe they're going to be launching a new streaming platform. So all that's TBA. Go to forgottengenres.com, or I won't give my other website because that's my name, and my name is kind of different. My last name's difficult to spell. But just go to forgottengenres.com or follow me on x.com, LowResWB.
Perfect. On that note, guys, everybody have a safe week.